Hello,
Hi.
welcome to Manthano Parenting Conference. And I'd like to introduce myself. My name is Karen, and I'm the CEO of Manthano. And sitting here with me is a sister, I would say, whom I've known for years. Um, 27 years, right?
Yeah.
27 years, yes. And to be honest, I want to use this opportunity really to just say she has been truly been a sister to me. She's my go-to person when I was much younger in terms of relationships and boyfriends, and my go-to person now in terms of setting up a business. I would consider you, Sister Funke, a mentor, because that's who you
Thank
are to
you.
me. One
Thank
of the
you.
things I would say is that you have really been a mentor to me.
Thank
And
you.
so it's with great honor to have you here with us today. And I'll say Funke Adeaga is the founder of the Christian Mentoring Association, a body that has been set up to raise the awareness and importance of mentoring within the Christian community, as well as promote and improve standards of mentoring practice through training and support to mentors, mentees, Christian leaders, and Christian organizations. Funke believes in the complete woman, one who is spiritually developed, astute, and well tuned out. And her message is that a woman should maximize each season of her life. She is passionate about mentoring, I would say that, leadership, and etiquette, and also enjoys traveling and reading. She is the author of Because Manners Matters, and she is married to her husband, Shola, and they have two children. So, welcome once again.
Thank you, Karen. Thank you so much for having me. Seriously, you're doing an amazing work. And I really need to say this. Some people might think that this your parenting thing and being passionate about children is a recent thing. It's not. It's something you've been doing for years. I remember when my children were younger, you were their auntie, and you still are their big sister. Thank you so much for what you're doing. Really
Oh,
do
those are
appreciate it.
wonderful, memorable years.
Yes.
I really do remember when they were quite small. And what you do now really is you oversee young adults. One of the things you do, you oversee young adults at your local church. And I see
Well,
the
oversee the the mentoring aspect of
the
the, yes,
ah yes, the
young
mentor
ladies. Yeah.
of the young ladies within your local church. And you do zealously actually. So why
Thank
do you
you.
have such a passion for mentoring?
Honestly, I think I have a passion now because I didn't have that. I didn't have anyone who could speak into my life. I didn't
Mm,
have anyone come alongside me when I was growing up who believed in me, so to speak. And I always say that if I'd had someone, I think my life would have been different. But with God, even setbacks, God can use that to set you up. But one of the reasons why we set up the mentoring scheme at our local church was, I remember one particular day I was talking to a young lady, and by the time we finished, she said to me, "Oh, how I wish my mother had taught me these things." And for me, that was a light bulb moment. It was like, wow. Okay, so I was like, we need to do something for these young ladies. We need to have aunties come alongside them to speak into their life, to give them, to talk about life experiences. Mentoring is just about someone sharing your own experiences, but don't let me get into that right now. Let me just, today, I want to talk about the importance of mentoring.
mm,
It's so important, Karen. Even when I started up, I didn't really understand the importance, how important it was, because when I started up, we just thought, okay, like I said, these young ladies might need someone to speak into their life. But over the years, I've even realized that even from a biblical aspect, it's a responsibility that I have, because I'm a Christian. It's a responsibility that I have where God just put some these people into your life. You have to nurture them. And because not also because not everybody had that kind of upbringing when they were growing up. So it's so important. We live in a constantly changing world. And in recent times, we're experiencing and probably enjoying probably the most rapid phase of development known in human history. particularly in the area of technology and communications.
Yeah.
This advantages from mobile phone technology to social media platform to business exchange platform and so on. They have transformed the level of human interaction. However, the paradox, Karen, is that despite this increasing sophistication, it seems that there's a corresponding increase in societal ills, increasing in diminished sense of general well-being and fulfillment. And we see it in society now. Life is fraught with challenges, uncertainties, and as a result, I believe that people, even communities, are looking for good and effective, not necessarily just leaders, but people who will just come alongside them. They're looking for people who will guide them into meaningful and successful relationships or ways of living. And so I think we don't have enough of those people around. Even actually, maybe that's not true. We don't have enough of them around, and even where they are probably not even aware that there's a need for such a thing. And by the time I finish, I just hope that I'll be able to encourage everyone, parents especially, to get involved in mentoring, not necessarily just mentoring their own children, but also mentoring other children
around them.
So let me talk about what mentoring is. But before I go into that, there's a gentleman called David Studart, and he said something. He said, due to constant change and uncertainty in our society, never has the need for mentoring been greater. And describing the place and practice of mentoring, he said, we live in a chaotic world, and we know that. And especially think about the last year or so. Yeah. Whether it's the chaotic work, could be at the workplace, it could be at home, it could be the community. It helps to find a person who has already been at that stage of life where you are and has learned through the trials of life as well as the triumph of life to guide us through life. And that's where you as a mentor can come in. I love to use the word, a mentor comes alongside another person. But before I even get into even describing the definition or describing what mentoring is, let me just say this. Mentoring is an old age practice. It's going on for years. The mentoring is a process that's found in all cultures and throughout history. And the word mentor that we use today is deeply rooted in Greek mythology. In Homer's Odyssey, the story is told of a king who, when he was going for the Trojan War, when departing, he entrusted the care and education of his son, Telemachus, to his loyal advisor and friend called Mentor. And he said to him, then he said, tell him all you know. So he told his friend, who's called Mentor, tell my son all you know. And in the story is told that in the 10 year that the king goes away, Mentor not only acted as a guardian in the boy's home, but also as a teacher and advisor to the boy. He taught him strong values and about strong values and character, helping him to mature into a wise and courageous young man. And that this has resulted in the belief now that mentoring involves passing on knowledge from one person to the other. But mentoring relationship, it's evolved since then, because then it was just one person that was just pouring into the other person.
I think there's a verse in the Bible. It just sprang into my mind where it says the widows.
Yeah, Titus too.
Yes.
About the older women should teach the younger women.
Teach the younger women. Yeah.
Yes. So that's even though actually you were you're jumping the gun, because I was just going to say that the word mentor is not mentioned in the Bible. But we know that there are mentoring examples in the Bible.
Yes.
So we have, the most obvious is Jesus and his disciples. Then we have Paul and Timothy. We have David and John. Now, of course, you see, mentoring, there are different types of mentoring relationships. There's group mentoring, which is what Jesus did with his disciples. So it was one person and 12. There's pair mentoring, which is between, which in the Bible was between David and Jonathan.
Yeah.
Pair mentoring is between people of what you could call equal footing. where they mentor each other. And then there's informal mentoring, which is where there's no structure to it. So, for example, if I wasn't mentoring you, when I meet you in church, for example, I meet you in the corridor, I was like, hey, Karen, what are you doing? And you'd be like, I'm fine. And I'm good. And I'll say something like, oh, you know that your conference that you're having? I hope all is going well. And I just move on, informal. But formal mentoring is more structured. We come together, we set goals, and hopefully your mentee will meet the goals. So that's formal mentoring. But there's so many examples of mentoring relationships in the Bible. But the thing is, if you ask any two people to give you a definition of mentoring, it'll be completely different. So, for example, in the secular world, the definition they'll use is it's a professional relationship in which an experienced person, the mentor, will assist a mentee in developing specific skills and knowledge. A lot of times in the secular world, is more about you get a mentor because you want to climb the social career, you want to get up the social ladder and work. But with Christian mentoring is different because it's like, like I said, it's almost like an injunction, a Christian injunction. I've used that scripture in Titus that says the older women should mentor the younger ones. So the definition I always use for Christian mentoring is this. Christian mentoring is the dynamic, intentional relationship of trust in which one person, the mentor, enables another person, the mentee, to maximize the grace of God in their life and to develop their potential in the service of God's kingdom.
I love that.
Let me go over it again. And if we have time, I would have loved to break it down, but let me go over it again. So it's Christian mentoring is the dynamic, intentional relationship of trust in which one person, who we call the mentor, enables another person, the mentee, to maximize the grace of God within their life and to develop their potential in the service of God's kingdom. Let me try and explain it a bit. So when we say it's dynamic, it's characterized by energy. You're not compelled to do it. You want to do it. When we say it's intentional, meaningful mentoring will not be achieved without a conscious and deliberate intention to pursue another person. This word pursue, I'll explain to you. When we first started mentoring, I used to say, when I'm assigned a mentor or a mentee, because the way we run it is we meet for 8 weeks at church with the mentees. And then at the end of 8 weeks, we go for a retreat and then they're assigned a mentor. Now, what used to happen was I'm assigned a mentee. Maybe we arranged to meet. She might not turn up. And after a while, it'll be like, well, she's the one that wanted a mentor. Tough, that's it. But by the time I now went to actually do a master's in Christian mentoring, unfortunately for me, it was a Christian school that I did. It was a Christian college. And now that was when I now understood that scripture in Titus 2 about the older women teaching and nurturing the younger ones. And that it's a responsibility I have. God is going to hold me accountable. And the truth is that, every single person that we come in contact with, God is going to say, this life that I gave to you, what did you do with this life? Remember when Jesus was going, he said, I have not lost one. Every single person you gave to me, I did what I was supposed to do with them. That was when so that's why it has to be intentional. And then it's voluntary. You do it because you know that this relationship will change somebody's life. This relationship will make a difference. So it's voluntary, it's free, it's deliberate, it's planned, it's without compulsion, and it's a relationship of trust. Now, of course, if you're meeting someone for the first time, you don't initially develop that trust. As we know, trust is built over time. And one of the things that help us to build trust is by being vulnerable, being open. It's a relationship.
On both sides.
On both sides, yes, on both sides. Having mutual respect for each other. And it's also a relationship that enables or empowers the other party. The empowering aspect takes place from a place of weakness to a place of inner strength. People have strength that they're not even sure that they're not even aware that they have. But you, the mentor, when I love that word, coming alongside. Why I always use that word, coming alongside, Karen, is that, in some cultures, when people talk about mentoring, they think it's where the mentor is saying, just walk behind me, just walk behind me and just do what I do.
Do whatever
Or,
I do.
or just go in front of me. But it is, I'm walking beside you. We're
Mm,
doing life together. It's about doing
mm,
life together with this person. And
mm,
that's the way, and that way, the person doesn't feel inferior to you. The person
mm,
feels that I'm capable of
mm,
becoming who this person what is right
mm,
now.
mm,
So it's empowering you, especially by the power of the Holy Spirit. It is maximizing the grace of God. God's grace is foundational for all growth and real change. So even when as a mentor, you're mentoring, you're helping them to recognize that grace because God's grace is available to all of us. So it's so important. And then quickly is to develop their potential. Each
mm,
human being, each child, especially every child created by God, has potential. Now, of course, our potential is usually in seed forms, so we don't know, but we need to create the right environment. Think about a seed. The
mm.
seed needs water, it needs light, it needs good soil.
Mm.
A lot of, even like me, I even speak to my plants. You know,
And
we
they do listen. I speak to my plants too.
Yeah,
They
yeah.
listen. Yes.
So you can imagine when you're doing that with a child, where
Mm,
where you're constantly affirming them. There's one thing I say in a mentor relationship. You say to the mentee, you say, "I believe in you. You are not alone. You
mm,
can do it. I
mm,
believe in you." Now, Karen, think about it. If somebody is constantly telling you that,
mm,
especially if you're growing up, whilst growing up, think
mm.
about the difference it would have made in
Oh
your
yeah.
life.
Yeah, and research does show that those are the questions children are asking all the time. Who am I? Why was
Mm,
I born? And
mm,
yeah, of what use am I? So
wow,
by affirming, you're actually speaking to the inner subconscious mind to
that's
help them to begin to have those discerning thoughts when those negative thoughts come
yeah.
their way. Mm, mm, mm,
Wow. Yeah,
mm,
amazing. It's so true. And the last thing I'll say about that definition is that, it says is in the service of God's kingdom purpose. So everything that we're doing, we're not doing it for ourselves. It's about what God has already ordained that He wants to do in this world. So even as you're helping them to develop their potential, you need to let them know that this gift, these things that you have, it's not for you. It's to
mm,
take it out there into the world, just as I'm pointing to you to change a life. You too, at the end, you should be using your gift and talent to make a difference in the world. It's about the service, using your gifts, your potential to the service in the service of God's kingdom purpose. So yeah, honestly, mentoring is it's something every single person should get into. And because as human beings, we need one another. We're designed to be relational. There was a study that was done by an organization called Uncommon Individual Foundation, an organization that's devoted to mentoring and research training. Now, I'm not sure if they're Christians, but the research shows that mentoring is the third most powerful relationship for influencing.
mm.
And others were marriage and extended family. But mentoring was the third most powerful relationship.
I can
Now, when I,
understand why. Mm.
sorry,
I
say
said
that again.
I can understand why,
Yeah,
based on what you've just said. Yeah.
yeah.
Mm.
Now, the only thing I would add, if I was as a Christian, is that um, the Holy Spirit is also a powerful influence.
Yeah.
So that's why I said I'm not sure if they were the Christians or not, but the research showed that mentoring is the third most powerful relationship for influencing another life.
Mm.
Um, so when we consider the fragmentation of the family, the speed of change demanding constant learning of new skills, and a mobile society, separating family members sometimes, the need for mentoring increases. And we often forget how powerful it is when someone believes in us. And that's what a mentor does. You know,
Mm.
because we're talking to parents, we need as parents to be able to create a space for our children to talk to us.
Mm.
Now, most parents, I've heard people, parents who say that, oh, my child is my friend, so my child will tell me everything. That's not necessarily true.
No.
That's not necessarily true. I'm
No,
sure even you know that.
I know that. Yeah. No, I know that. Even working with youths, I
Yeah,
know that's just not true. Yeah.
exactly.
If you don't have that safe space, if you don't cultivate actually that safe space,
Yeah,
well, your child does not have that opportunity, honestly, to think that you can be entrusted with that, whatever information I tell you.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's not that. Also, sometimes it's not that the
The relationship is
yeah,
not a healthy one. Yeah.
yes. It's just that sometimes they also want to protect the parents. They
Yes,
feel, oh,
exactly. Yeah. And that's
to
where,
tell
yeah,
mommy and
trust.
daddy
Yeah.
this. Yeah.
How is
But
she
actually,
gonna react?
how is she
What
going
is
to
she gonna
react exactly? Or he is going to
oh,
react?
sorry.
So, I mean, I will encourage every parent that as soon as their child is old enough to
Mm,
to encourage them to get into mentoring relationships with other people outside of the family. I mean,
mm,
it could be an aunt, it could be an uncle, or it could be someone, a teacher,
mm,
a youth worker. But I will encourage them to intentionally get their children into mentoring relationships. And I'll tell you the kind of people they should be looking for.
yes, yeah,
They
which
should
one?
be looking for people um, who are godly, of course. I mean, that's
Yeah,
who
that's
are
one of
God,
your values. Yeah.
yes, who have values, who will be transparent. Um, they should be looking for people who have integrity,
Mm,
people who they well, society as best as you can what you watch their lives, and you can see that okay, this person has this value, and I love my child too. You see, a mentor relationship is not about the mentee trying to be like the mentor, if you understand what I mean. You don't
yes.
want a clone of yourself,
Yeah.
because again, we all have different gifts, we all have different assignments, but
Mm,
it's you coming alongside another person and trying to help them to be every single thing God has created them to be. That's the
mm,
most important thing. So you're
mm,
looking for someone who is godly, godly characteristics, someone who has integrity, someone
mm,
who has values,
mm,
um, someone who's open, who can be open with your
mm,
kids and tell them the truth and say, like this. Today, I was a part of a platform. And one of the things the young adults were talking about was that they want their parents to tell them their mistakes, to
mm,
say, yes, I got it wrong in this area, and this is why I got it wrong. But you have the benefit of learning from my experience. We
mm.
don't want, because
So
sometimes
they
parents,
want parents who are vulnerable.
they want parents who are vulnerable. Yeah. Yeah,
Mm.
because that joke we always say, where we say every parent will say, "Oh, I got straight A's at school,"
Mhm.
but no parent ever wants to admit that. Okay.
They struggled just like you.
So you want a mentor who is trustworthy, who is authentic, transparent, vulnerable, like you said, relational, someone who is also a learner, because even as parents, a mentor also should be teachable,
Mm,
because life is about learning. We're constantly learning.
yeah.
That's why you're doing this, because anybody that comes to be part of this conference, they're here because hopefully they want to learn. So
Yes.
you're looking for a mentor um, who is a learner, who's teachable, someone who will affirm your child, someone
Mm,
who will help to develop, because not everybody is able to develop. Not everyone is interested in developing other people. So
or
you're
has
looking
that
for,
skill.
yeah, that's right.
Mhm.
Yeah, and then I would say also, look for a mentor who is a servant, someone who practices servant leadership, not
Mm,
someone who, like I said, it's, oh, pick up my bag, oh, you do this for me, but someone who wants to serve, who has the servant's heart. Those are
mm,
the things I think we should be looking for in a mentor. And let me also talk I don't know how much time we have,
Oh,
but let
wow.
me,
Mhm.
sorry?
Oh, please do. Please do.
Okay.
Talk. Mhm.
I'm just going to talk about the gifts that a mentor gives to a mentee.
And before you even start that, can you have more than one mentor?
Yes, you
Okay.
can. You can have mentors for different areas of your life.
Uh-huh.
So you can have a mentor, a business mentor.
Yeah.
You can have a a career mentor. You can have a mentor, someone who mentors you, a spiritual mentor. You
Mhm.
can have someone who um, mentors you in relationships. Yeah, different areas. You can have different mentors for different areas. Now, I'm just wondering, as you ask that question, I was just wondering whether to touch on another area where we sometimes get confused, which is the area of where sometimes people mix counselors and coaches and say, "Oh, are these mentors too?" Do you want
Oh,
me to?
oh yes, please, because that's a question that I would actually want answered.
Okay. So this there are mentoring is an empowering relationship, like I said, but there are other relationships that we call empowering relationships that people sometimes mix up with mentoring. They think it's, oh, this person is my mentor. So, for example, coaching. Coaching facilitates an individual through a process. So you have a specific goal um, or a specific development that this person is trying to attain. That's what
Okay.
think about a football coach, for
Yeah.
example. So
Yes.
so coaching and mentoring are different. Let me how do I put this now? The main difference between uh, all these other empowering relationships and
Mm.
Christian mentoring,
Mm.
especially, is that Christian mentoring is holistic.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
So, for example, I can come to you and say, Karen, can you mentor me in the area of parenting, being a good parent? Now, as you start to mentor me as a parent, you might find out that, oh, I actually have relationship issues. I actually have financial issues. I actually
Okay.
have this. So
Mm-hmm.
Christian mentoring is holistic because as you start to mentor you, we go into other areas. So all these other empowering relations, so like coaching is focused on a specific area that you want to develop.
Mm-hmm.
There's
Mm-hmm.
another one called spiritual direction. Spiritual direction is because sometimes people will say their pastor is their mentor.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
But your pastor is not your mentor, except you guys have come together to say, you've gone to him or to say, will you mentor me, pastor? I want you to be my,
Okay.
you know, because what they do, as in what the pastors do, is they provide spiritual direction. So every Sunday or whenever we meet, they're helping you to grow as a Christian. So they're
Okay.
providing spiritual direction, but they're not mentors. Then of
Mm.
course there's counseling. Counseling is the process in which the counselor helps a person in distress to understand the cause of their problem and to guide them through the process of learning how to make good life decisions. So
Mm.
again, a counselor is not a mentor. Then of course there's
Okay.
pastoral care, which
Mm.
where somebody's been bereaved, someone's lost a job or something, where you provide listening support and encouragement, but it is not mentoring because it's
Okay.
again because yeah. And then
Mm.
discipleship, you know what that is,
Mm.
helping
Mm.
someone, especially like a new Christian, helping
Mm.
them to grow in their
With
Christian
a
faith.
Christian faith. Yeah.
Um,
Okay.
yeah,
Okay.
and then the last one is therapy, which is just a process of treating mental or emotional disorders through the use of psychological techniques and so on. So yeah.
Oh, wow. I didn't even know that because I would have thought, okay, if I have someone who I look up to
Yeah.
and who I think, okay, their values and their belief, I can relate to it, then I
Yeah.
could, say this person is my mentor. But so
Yeah.
it's a specific,
Yeah.
it's a specific, okay, okay, all right.
So
Mm,
I mean, but we do get all those areas mixed up, you know,
mm, mm,
but it's understandable. And until
mm,
you
mm,
know, you learn, you probably would know.
mm, mm, mm.
So should I get the last bit of what I call them the gifts that a mentor gives to a mentee?
Mm.
Accountability. Um, is There's nothing like having someone you're accountable to.
Okay.
It's always good to be accountable for someone so that you can set expectations and communicate that clearly. If you're not accountable, so for example, if you didn't have anyone you're accountable to carry, you can say, "Oh, I want to run a conference," and that's it. But if you have someone that you're accountable to, the person will come to you and say, "Karen,
How's
what
it going?
happened to the conference that you're going to
Mm-hmm.
have? Have you set goals? What are you going to do?" You know, it's not about, it's just about someone helping you.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah,
So
yeah. Mm-hmm.
so that's one of the gifts of a mentor: accountability, affirmation. As human beings, we all need to feel good about ourselves. That's the truth. Oprah Winfrey says something that I always love. She said that with all of her shows, all the presidents, stars, celebrities, that by the time they finish, they always ask her one question: "How did I do? I do
Mm-hmm.
well."
Mm-hmm.
Everybody wants to know that they matter.
Oh yeah, I think
Everybody
that's
wants.
one of the reasons why I wrote my book, really, little affirmations for children, because it's important that even at the very early age, children hear these words,
Yeah.
because there is so much other voices coming their way,
Yes, yes,
speaking to them there, and there's so many experiences that they will come around them, and
yes.
unconsciously it will feed into them, and if they keep on hearing this same thing over and over again, it can tear their self-esteem down.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Mm,
So it's so important. The third one is assessment, which involves evaluating their present state. So when you're your mentee, assess their present state, be objective, give them giving them an assessment into what you see. So where you're like, okay, I recognize this as a strength. I recognize this as a weakness. So you do that as a mentor. Then advice. Um, Even though I've put advice, but I always say that a mentor really doesn't give advice. It's about giving them wise counsel. And I'll explain the difference. A mentor comes to you and you say, "Oh, I have a problem." So, for example, a mentee comes to me and says, "Oh, I have 3 job offers, but I don't know which one to take."
mm,
Now, I will not say to the mentee, "Oh, go with company A because I know blah, blah, blah about them." What I would do is go and write down the pros and cons of each company, right? Now, once you've done that, now take the one that you think, okay, in this company, this is important to me. In that company, so a company might say, "You have to work on Sundays. Is it important to you?"
mm,
Because Sunday is the day that you go to church. So you
mm,
go through all the 3 companies and you pick the pros and cons, whichever one is important to you. Then you
mm.
do a process of elimination and you keep doing that. Now, why we do that with mentees is that you don't want your mentee to become dependent on you.
Oh, yeah,
You
it
want them to be human beings that can think for themselves.
helps. Yeah.
You don't want them always running to you to say, "Karen, what do you think? Karen, what do you think?" Even
Mm,
when they might still come to say, "What do you think?" But then
mm,
you're saying, "Okay, so what are the options? What are the options available to you?"
mm,
That's what you want from your mentee. You don't want them constantly running to you to ask, "Oh, I don't know what to do." But
mm.
once you get them to
There's
that place
no
where,
growth then.
yes,
Mm, mm,
absolutely.
mm,
So,
mm,
yeah. And
mm,
then a mentor also, you share assets by giving them tangible gifts, like it's a book that you think will benefit them, or CD. And then lastly, application, where you help them to apply all the things that they've learned
mm,
in life to their
mm.
own life.
Oh,
So yeah.
wow.
But mentoring, seriously, it's so important. There's so many benefits from mentoring. And
Mm,
even the person that is the mentor learns, it's a
mm,
two-way relationship. Mentoring is a two-way relationship. I've learned so much from my mentees, and even from you, Karen. I've learned so much.
mm,
You're oh, well, maybe I should say, but you're such a determined woman, and I love that about you. I
mhm,
really love that about you, where you don't allow anything to stop you from doing what God has called you to do.
mm.
To do.
Would you say that parents then should actually look for a place where they can learn how to be a mentor? Because
It-
all these things you've said about being vulnerable, respect, I see them as skills that will actually help them in their child in their relationships with their children.
Yes.
Because one of the frameworks we choose, we share in Parenting with Angel Eyes is the fact that there has to be some form of connection.
Yeah.
You've got to also remember that you're not in control, that you're just an ambassador to your child. And it's important for you to get tools to learn how to communicate with grace, to communicate with love, such that when you've built that connection, when you have built it, then it's easier for you to coach. And I guess then it will be easier for you to mentor the person, because the person then believes, there's a trust, there's that relationship and that vulnerability to say, you know what, I've been there, I've done it, and so here, and I'm not telling you to, I'm not giving you advice to say, you do this. It's for you to just see it and then say, okay, what should I do next? And that's what will help a child to become a leader.
Absolutely. Yes, it's so important. I think every parent should try as best as they can to acquire the skills and the tools on how to be a mentor to their children and other children. Yeah, I agree with you.
Oh, thank you so much for that. I've been really enjoyed this talk. And before we go, I just want to say that the link to Pastor Funke Adeaga's resources are right at the end of this video. So please go into the link and you can get this book, which is written Because Life Matters, because manners matter. Yes. And why did you write that book, by the way? What was one of the reasons why you wrote?
Well, I grew up in a home where my parents thought it was very important. But also, as I grew up, I realized that manners or etiquette, as they sometimes call it, it's so important. And etiquette is just about respect and consideration for others. And when you have that, when you have respect for consideration and consideration for others, it'll take you far. There's a quote I love that says, "Good manners will take you places where the best education will not take you." And it's true. Think about the people that you've met in life who have had lovely manners. You just want to help them. You just want to do things with them. People will come and say, "Auntie Karen, please, can you?" Not someone who just say, "I want."
Yes. I can even remember, I'm just remembering now when you're dating and the guy will even open the door for you and then you walk, it brings a lasting impression.
Yes. And that's one of the things I said in the book. It takes only, I think now they say it's between 5 and 7 seconds for someone to make an impression on you. And what you want to do is to leave a positive impression, not a negative impression. So that's why it's good to acquire those skills and the graces on how we behave, how we dine, and all of those things. Yeah.
So everyone, please get this book. It's a very wonderful book. So the link to this resource and to your website can be found on the link below. Now for the fun part.
Yes.
What we all ask our speakers is to please just give us a take-home activity, something that we can do now, this very minute, based on what you have spoken about. What do you have for us today?
At the beginning, we talked about why children don't talk to their parents because because of the safe space. So what I would love for every parent to do is to have an assessment with your children. Get your children to assess you in the area of communication. So maybe even say that, rate me on a scale of 1 to 10. What are my communication skills? Do I listen well, or do I talk more than I listen? Do I tell you what to do, or do I engage in the conversation? Again, like I said, I was on a platform today with young adults. And one of the things they said to us was that parents are very quick to say, "Don't do this." But we never explain why we don't want them to do. So instead of saying, "Don't do it because I said so," just explain, if you eat this nut, it can choke you, or you might be allergic to it, or just give them a reason why you don't want them to. So parents, ask your children to rate you on a scale of 1 to 10, and then have a conversation about it.
How about it? Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, wow. I love that activity, and that's something I'll be doing with my children. So Parents, let's all do this. And please, like I say, write your experiences, write your testimonies on this platform. Let's engage with one another. Let's learn from each other. And and so let's also remember again that we're not alone. So thank you. Yes, thank you so much, Sister Funke.
Thank you for having me, Karen.
Oh, it's been a pleasure. So until then, everyone, please take care and stay safe. God bless. Bye.